an industrial country. Thank you very much, sir, and welcome.
Thank you very much, Ambassador, and good morning, everybody. You know, as Ambassador mentioned, you have heard about my background, but a lot of my friends have struggled on how to describe me now in my new role. So some say Mheshimiwa, some say a politician, and I accept all of them. And Ambassador, just as you were introducing me, Dr. Gituro Wanaina was just reminding me that I was also a graduate of Nairobi University. And of course, he wants to take credit for that because he taught me management science many years ago. So you would wonder how old he was when he was teaching me. But first of all, I just want to spend a few minutes talking about the theme of this conference, which it's really appropriate at this time in this country and in the region as well. And so what I will do is I'll talk about briefly on Africa, the opportunities that exist on the continent and the challenges that there are. Spend a bit of time on the subject matter, which is on business risk, and share my own personal experience, having been a business manager before, to see how risk can be mitigated and what are some different ways and processes of dealing with it. And of course, as a government minister, would want to spend a bit of time. I wouldn't have a platform and not talk about what the government is doing in de-risking Kenya as an investment destination compared to many other countries and locations in the world. And then finally, probably the most important part of my being here is I would like to open up for questions so that people can ask me any question that is on their mind, be it relating to the specific item that we're here for, or indeed any other topic that might relate to my being in this role. So please feel free to raise some of the issues. Now, but let me talk a bit about Africa first in terms of the opportunities that Africa presents. And many of you have heard, including information from the financial press, international financial institutions like World Bank, IMF, African development banks, that Africa and the continent is currently experiencing economic growth, giving grounds for greater optimism, more than we've ever seen before. The average growth rate in Africa is now higher than many other countries, and especially the Asian countries during their peak seasons. And Africa is the growth region for the future, with inward investments on the rise. Even The Economist magazine has gone from describing Africa at some stage as a hopeless basket case story, less than 2 years ago, now speaking of Africa as the rising continent, and actually having the next theme for second IMF Africa conference in Maputo, focusing on Africa rising agenda. A number of arguments have been presented as evidence for Africa being on the rise. Firstly, GDP growth rates continue to be extremely high, and 7 of the 10 most successful growth cases in the world come out of Africa. Secondly, African export levels continue to rise. Even though they have been traditionally raw materials, we are beginning to see a lot more value additions coming out of Africa. Income per capita continues to rise, with poverty reducing and a really increasing middle class, more than we've ever seen in any other part of the world. The digital revolution is a reality, and just in our own backyard, some of the technological advancements that we have in the telecommunication sector, financial services remain the true story of what Africa could do in many parts of the world. Production continues to be more diversified, from traditional agricultural based to currently some intermediate goods, but on the journey towards taking advantage of industrialization as we continue to find necessary raw materials to help us do that. The foreign direct investment volumes continue to increase on the continent,